ActOutGames.com here, and today we are going to be doing the book club review for Mysteries of Cove, Fires of Invention.
By J. Scott Savage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, J. Scott Savage. Cool. So you want to tell us what Mysteries of Cove, Book 1, The Fires of Invention is about?
2 words. Steampunk dragon.
There is a steampunk dragon. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good. So it's about Trenton, who... so they kind of live in this place called Cove, and Cove, basically you can't invent things, and they think that the way that they are now is the best way.
Yeah, no creativity.
And that inventing things caused like plagues and stuff, and caused people to start dying and stuff like that. So they want to go back and live in the old ways. So there's no creativity, there's no inventing, no kind of stuff like that allowed.
Yep.
But Trenton is a mechanic. And he wants to fix things, but he also kind of wants to start changing things. He wants to make them better.
Right.
And that's like illegal in Cove.
Very illegal.
It's very, very illegal.
You go to retraining.
Retraining.
If you do that, yeah, which sounds horrible.
Yeah.
One of his friends is an artist.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. Like it's creativity. You're creating something, and so he gets caught drawing, and he goes to a retraining.
Yeah.
And it seems like not a pleasant experience.
Not a pleasant experience, especially for myself, because I draw a lot.
Yeah. And so then he gets sort of led on this mysterious quest that taps into both his mechanic nature and his inventor nature that we won't go too much into in the non-spoilery part, but he starts learning about more truths about Cove and about what's going on in the world, basically. It's not everything that he thinks it is initially. Yeah, right? So that, I mean, non-spoilery, that's kind of the gist of the plot, right?
Yeah.
There's this world in which you can't create new things.
This city.
Yeah, it's the whole world to them.
Yeah.
You can't create new things, and there's a little boy who's drawn to create things, and then he's led on an adventure that exposes that.
Which I wonder how it is possible that he even knew that it was possible to invent things. Maybe they were like, don't do this ever!
Well, I think part of the argument is it's just human nature,
Yeah.
right? Human beings long to create. You don't need someone to tell you that you can create.
Yeah.
You just, by your very nature, you create, right? So there's probably a lot of people in Cove that are creative, but they stifle it, right? But they probably have that instinct, right? Some people, it's just so strong they can't stifle it, like Trenton. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you want to talk a little bit in the non-spoilery part about what you thought about the book?
I thought it was really, really great, and I really loved like the writing and the characters. The characters were especially great in this book. Like I got like especially for the artist, like I got like really attached to this artist, mostly because like I draw and I would be like in like so much suffering if I couldn't do like I would probably like if I'm in a room with...
You remember his name?
No.
I don't either.
Neither do I. If I'm in a room with a piece of paper and something that is possible to draw with, even a burnt match, I'm just like...
Yeah, I liked that character a lot too, actually. Yeah. I thought he was a cool character for like the side characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously there are some main characters that I really, really enjoy, like Callista. And for some reason I just like the way that Simone was drawn in my head, because for some reason I cannot imagine realistically. I can't. I also really like with the characters is that all the characters are like, if you wrote from their perspective, you would be rooting for them and everything. Like, because obviously in different perspectives there are different people that are like villainous and that are kind of enemies of people.
Right. Yeah.
But if you were to like, for example, write it from like Angus's perspective, then it would be very different, and you would probably like be more rooting. Which I really love about those characters.
Yeah, there's a thing that like you say when you're writing, right? That everyone is the hero of their own story, right? So no one thinks they're the bad guy. Well, I mean, there are some supervillains, I'm sure, that think they're a bad guy, right? Yeah. But for the most part in fiction, when you're writing fiction, everybody, if you look at the story from their point of view, they're the hero and they're the good guy and they're doing the right thing. But it's really hard to do, right? It's not easy to write in that way, so that when you're looking at that character's point of view, you can see that he feels like he's doing it for the right reasons and feel sympathetic towards that character. Yeah. And I think J. Scott Savage did an amazing job of that, frankly. I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I felt the same way, that he did a really good job of kind of referencing each character. Felt like you understood the motivations of each character and understood why they were doing what they were doing, even if you didn't agree with what they were doing. Totally agree with that. I thought that was excellent. Yeah. The other thing that he did, so I was going to say that I loved it too. Yeah. I thought it was great. Right? I really thought it was great. I was kind of blown away with it, frankly. We've been reading a ton of books lately, right? And I've enjoyed most of the books that we've read recently, and it's getting me back to seeing that I like different writers for different reasons. Different writers do different things really well, right? And so, like Rainbow Rowell, so we read Fangirl, and now I'm reading Carry On.
I've read Carry On.
And like Rainbow, what she does really well is the pacing of her writing is just beautiful. Like, it blows me away. And it's not even necessarily the story or the words that she's using or anything. It's just the way that she paces her story, I find to be just enthralling and beautiful, right? John Green, his books, which you haven't read much yet, but he uses words really well. Like, he's really clever with his words and the way he structures the words, right? And I think he does that really in an excellent way. And different authors do different things. I think what J. Scott Savage does that really blows me away and is really amazing is the structure of the story. Like, he builds a story in a really beautiful way as well, right? And there's a mechanic throughout the story. I'm using that as almost a pun. There's a story mechanic that he uses that, you know, they're looking for these parts to this machine, right? And so as they're going from finding one part and going to find the next part and going to find the next part, that's like the skeleton that the story, overall story, hangs on, right? And so that was extremely well done. And it's even sort of visual in the book. Like, the chapter headers have the little machine being populated and filled out and stuff. And I thought that was really clever. It does go faster than the chapter, but I thought that was really clever, right? So that alone was really extremely well done, right? But then the other thing that he did that I thought was really fantastic was the layering of the story and the structure of the story kind of matching what's happening to the characters in the story. It's kind of hard to put into words, right? To summarize. But, like, as you're moving through the book, the characters are discovering things sort of at a pace that you're discovering things. And the book is kind of this allegory for creativity and sort of this, like, Harrison Bergeron kind of way. You haven't read Harrison Bergeron yet or seen kind of the TV show, right? But it's the idea that everyone should be equal. And so Kurt Vonnegut, who wrote Harrison Bergeron, what he did was people that were smart had to wear this headgear that sort of dumbed them down and interfered with their brain waves so that everybody would be at the same level of intelligence. And people that were really good athletes had to wear weights on their legs so they couldn't jump higher so that everybody would be able to jump kind of the same height and stuff. So it's kind of leveling the playing field, right? And it reminded me of some of those things where you didn't want people to be creative and sort of strive and be beyond. And as you're learning more and more about the story, the characters are also learning more and more about the world that they live in this place. Like the layering of the way it's written and the way the reader is discovering things and the way that the characters are discovering things, I thought it just fit together so beautifully that I was really amazed by it.
Like, John and Rainbow and Scott should just go into this job. Should just write a book.
But like I said, they all have these different skills, these different abilities, and I love them all, right? But I was really blown away by the structure of this book and like how well put together the story was. It was really amazing. And then the other thing he did that really shocked me was there are several surprises that happen along the way. Like, there's lots of twists that happen in this. There's a couple of big ones and some minor ones that happen. And I didn't see any of them coming. And not only did I not see them coming, but a lot of times, like, if you have a big twist that's going to happen towards the end of the book or something like that, right? You'll write, like, trying to trick people into not seeing that twist happening,
and then you're gonna make people see that twist,
and then you'll twist. You'll make the twist happen, right? But you're right. Like, a lot of times when you do that, you make people suspicious. Because you're kind of doing. It feels like you're being led down the wrong path, right? They're like intentionally taking you away, and then the twist pops out, right? But like what J. Scott Savage did in this book, what I felt like he did at least was he wrote like the twist wasn't going to happen. Right? And like I never saw it coming because he really wrote like a flat line that was headed to a normal finish where I thought I knew the book. I thought there was going to be a change, that something was going to happen, but I thought I knew what it was, kind of. And then it really like totally different direction, right? And the way that he did that was by not trying to deceive me into thinking about something else, right? He wrote like that twist wasn't going to happen, and he did that a couple of times. It's not just sort of some of the bigger things that happened, but there were a couple of other things that happened where somehow he was able to write down this straight path and then curve at the end. Like, I thought he was so good at that.
And it's kind of like while I was reading Cinder, one of the big twists, I'm like, I like read it in short bursts, and I unlike this one, which I just like read, but I read it in kind of a little bit of short bursts, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, what if twist happened? And then I'm like, and then twist does happen. And I'm like, oh.
Right.
But if I read this one, I would just be like, I wonder what the ending would be. Maybe this would happen, maybe this would happen,
Right.
and then nope.
Yeah, it was almost like there wasn't, I didn't feel a big twist coming because he wasn't writing to trick me out of the twist, right? Again, really, like, structurally, the way the story is told and put together, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
A couple of other things what I wanted to say. Yeah, I loved his dialogue. I thought his dialogue was really excellent and funny and it's really witty and a lot of the things that the character said, but still kind of real. I really dug that. This is one of the things I was going to talk about. Like the allegory that I was talking about is that there are sort of these political messages that are in the book. Like as you read it, you learn more about Cove not being sort of what you think it is, right? And about how politicians and people in power can sometimes deceive you in order to maintain that power, right? And so there's this political message that runs through the book as well, but it's not kind of beating you over the head with that message and being overly obvious about that it's trying to make this political point. But in the same way that as these kids are sort of learning about the realities of the world, again, he sort of eases you into that message, right? And the book doesn't start out as this allegory about power is corrupting and stuff like that, right? But over the course of the book, as the kids develop their understanding of what's going on, you start developing your understanding of what's going on. And Callista's dad did that intentionally to the characters in the book, the way that he hid those parts that I was talking about, that they have to go find these parts. And so slowly through finding those parts, her dad is unraveling this mystery for her, right? And he even says towards the end of it, you couldn't have handled this all at once.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't have just given you this truth. You never would have believed it. I needed to sort of bring you along slowly. And so again, there's a parallel of that journey in the way that the book slowly takes you along and teaches you some of this political stuff that you need to learn that I think is important for you to learn, right? Power is corrupting, and people that are in power want to stay in power, and they'll do what they need to do, and even believe what they need to believe to stay in power.
Yeah.
But he being John Scott Savage, sort of leads you along. John, did I call him John Scott Savage?
Yes.
Him being J. Scott Savage. I just want to give him a first name, because I don't know what to call somebody that uses an initial for their first name. So J. Scott Savage, he leads you along that path slowly as well, in the same way that Callista's dad did. And I just think it's so cool that he's able to use the structure of his storytelling to mirror the structure of the story that he's telling and the meta, and it's so cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Ugh. Why hoverboards? Why?
Well, so I'm going to get my notes here. I wrote hoverboards because I thought it was funny because, like, all of the stuff that's going on with hoverboards right now, like municipalities, the cities that are banning them, and like all this stuff that's going on, it feels like we live in Cove, and everybody's like, that's an invention. That's a new thing. We've never seen that before. We should ban it, right? People can't have this. Is brand new, but it's just like a skateboard or a bicycle, or it's just a newer thing that somebody. No, it's new. Don't have new things. You can't invent stuff. Inventions are dangerous. Let's ban them. I suddenly felt like I was living in Cove when reading all the news articles about the hoverboards. That's why it says hoverboards. Okay, so that's it. So number one, read the book. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. So speaking of, we are going to do the live event for this book. January 31st. We're going to push it off a little bit, give everybody plenty of time to get their hands on the book and read it. And we are only going to talk about the book in the live event. The last live event was a lot of fun, but we didn't talk about the book. Like, nobody had read the book, and so we didn't talk about it very much. So to make up for that, on the Sunday before, which do you remember what that was? Whatever that was, the Sunday before the 31st, we're going to do another live event that's going to be not book related. So we can just hang out and we can talk, we can open some blind bags, we can do whatever we want to do. And then on the 31st, that's going to be dedicated to talking about the book, because I really want you guys to read this book. This is a really good book. Same rules. If you get it and you read it this month, post a review on YouTube. If you post a review and you mention that you're interested in doing the live event, we're going to pick somebody and they can come hang out with us on the live event and talk about the book with us. We thought that was really awesome. We've done that with Frankie. We've done that with Miss Robin. Those were really fun. So I definitely want to do that again. So read the book, post a review. Or if you don't post on YouTube and you read the book, send us a message, Presley at ActOutGames.com. Send us an email or drop us a line somewhere and let us know that you read it, and we can talk about it as well, other options as well. So that's going to be really, really awesome. So read the book. I think it's going to be really good. Cool. And we're going to do spoilers during the live event. So live event will be a full-on spoiler conversation, so read it and talk about it since then. But like, even if you don't want to do the live event or don't do anything, I strongly recommend that you read this book. I thought it was fantastic.
Read the book.
Anything else that you want to
say? Otherwise, not really, like, but yeah, definitely do read this book. And I, like, one of my strongest memories from Salt Lake is just sitting and reading this book and watching the twists unfold from the line, in a signing line, waiting to get something signed. And I'm like,
yeah, we should probably mention again that, so we met J. Scott Savage. He was on one of the panels with Presley at Salt Lake City Comic-Con, and he was nice enough to give us a copy of the book and autograph it for us and stuff like that. And, like, he mentioned to Presley that there were steampunk dragons, and she was hooked. She was all in. And so, a super nice guy as well, like, meeting him, he was super nice, and, like I say, signed the book for us and was really great on the panel, and so I was looking forward to reading it. But even all of that, I was blown away by how good it was. Like, you never know when you crack a book for the first time and you don't know anything about it. You never know how good it's going to be, but this was excellent. So, well worth a read. Okay, anything else?
Not really.
Yeah, one other thing, in addition to the live event, on the live event, we'll say what the next book is going to be. Presley's already read it and knows what it's going to be, and it's one of her favorite books, so you guys should be looking forward to that. We're going to announce it early, probably, actually here pretty soon. If you want to get a jump on it, we'll post it on Twitter. So if you're not following us on Twitter, ActOutGames, follow us on Twitter, and you'll get to see what the next book is, and you can pick that up and start reading that.
Yes.
And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe here. Where's the subscribe button? Do you know? Down there?
Down there.
Somewhere, like down there,
yeah,
maybe?
there.
Click on the subscribe button down there so you can follow the other book club and the book club reviews and all the other stuff that we do on the channel. It really does help us out if you subscribe. So if you like what we're doing, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe.
Yeah.
So cool. Awesome.
So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!
Bye, guys.